Dorothy was wonderful in the role, which she learned directly from Carol Channing herself. Her singing was first rate. I wasn't aware that she had been a big band singer before she became a big movie star. When we played Dayton, Ohio, the local critics savaged Dorothy cruelly and unfairly, complaining that he could see the bags under her eyes from the back row. The next night in her curtain speech, she said, "I just want a certain critic to know that I have had these bags under my eyes since I was 12 years old." She was a tough cookie and was very proud of the work she was doing in the show and had done previously in the movies, especially the stunts she performed herself. She vividly described how she was lashed to a tree, wearing the sarong that was her signature during a terrifying storm in the hurricane. In The Greatest Show on Earth, she actually learned to hang by her mouth and spin in the air high above the big top. But don't get her started on the road movies. She had absolutely no fondness for either Bob Hope or Bing Crosby, whom she claimed screwed me out of millions. She loved when I relayed stories people told us relating to her. One waitress who learned I was in Dolly said, "Oh, that Loretta Young, I always loved her show." New Orleans was Dorothy's hometown, and when we played there, a woman on the street said to me, "Dorothy Lamour? I've loved her ever since I saw her in The Wizard of Oz." A very slow "ha ha ha" would emanate from deep in Dorothy's chest, a laugh that always sounded as if she just told a dirty joke. She was a genius for issuing oblique complaints during a performance, too. The dancer who played Stanley, a waiter, was visibly expanding in the butt, and his pants needed to be let out several times. In the Dolly number, the lyric reads, "You're looking great, Stanley. Lose some weight, Stanley?" One night, during the number, she sang the lyric with a somewhat different inflection. "You're looking great, Stanley. Lose some weight, Stanley." During World War II, she had raised a fortune for war bonds and often entertained soldiers at the Hollywood Canteen. It seemed appropriate then that she requested that we perform for the troops at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. We played in a large hall that bore no resemblance to a theater. It was impossible to use any sets, only the furniture and props. There was, in fact, no stage, but rather large pieces of board set up on sawhorses. Our stage crew was ingenious at adapting the show to any environment. During the first act, we gave it everything we had, but there was virtually no reaction from the soldiers in the audience. No laughs and very little applause. The commander came backstage to speak to Dorothy during intermission. "What's going on out there?" she asked him in a very upset state. "Do they hate the show that much?" The commander said, "Oh, not at all, Miss Lamour. They were all warned that they had to behave themselves, remain quiet, and act respectfully to the performers." "Well, you go out there and tell them to loosen up, have a good time, and enjoy themselves, because we're dying up here." Never has an audience changed so radically mid-performance. During the second act, they began shouting, laughing, and applauding riotously at everything we did. The jumps at the end of the waiter's gallop provided unheard-of thrills. I noticed at my first jump that I rose higher than I thought possible, and with each successive jump, we soared higher and higher. This was because the boards resting on sawhorses were acting as a sort of trampoline. The orchestra had to adjust the tempo constantly because there was no consistency in the length of time between jumps. We were literally flying by the end of the number.